Aloha. I'm Representative Cynthia Thielen. I represent Kailua Kaneohe Bay, and I'm here today with Jay Fidell to discuss renewable energy. It's a subject that we both hold as critical for Hawaii and for Hawaii's future and for Hawaii's economy. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Cynthia. It's great to be here with you. I always enjoy these conversations.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
So you went on a trip this summer.
I did.
To Uppsala, Sweden.
Actually, Uppsala,
Pardon
Sweden.
me, and that's with two P's.
Yes.
So we spell it right. And that was more than a vacation for you.
Oh, very definitely.
So you went there for energy. I am so curious to know how it went for you.
It was marvelous. I mean, it was so exciting to be with people that are really moving ahead with wave energy. It was specifically for wave energy. And it brought in people from all over the globe. China had people there that were presenting, certainly Europe, throughout Europe. There were a few people from the United States, and of course two from Hawaii,
myself
and another person presenting from DBED, Department of Business and Economic Development.
That's great.
And my message to the wave energy community was, come to Hawaii. Let us be the focus for where you're going to try your systems. But the exciting thing, it's both exciting and it's rather sad, the universities in Europe particularly are really focusing on wave energy. Their graduate students are specializing in this because they know that this is the new power source that is going to be so powerful to take care of the globe. And actually their utilities have jumped on board. I have a picture that I want to show you about one of the utilities that has stepped forward and is looking at wave energy for the future. And here we have a picture of Fortum, and they are saying specifically in here, they're doing testing in Europe, and Fortum is saying specifically, calculations show that wave power can cover up to 10% of the world's entire energy needs. Now, when you talk about that, and then you look at the utilities that have moved ahead and are funding, not just thinking about it, but they're stepping forward and funding wave energy research because they recognize that this is the new power and the new source.
So what's your sense, what kind of response did you get when you suggested to people that Hawaii ought to be a nexus for this sort of thing? What kind of enthusiasm did you find among them for the possibilities here?
The one stumbling block is funding, because in Europe they have the funding. In Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom, they have the funding. Portugal, Spain, France, that was the one stumbling block. Of course they want to come here because we have one of the best wave climates in the world. And of course they want to come here because it's Hawaii.
Of course.
And, but the difficulty was they were saying, okay, what kind of support system is in place in the United States? What kind of support system is in place in Hawaii?
Oh, that's the problem. And you mentioned to me before that they were looking to hire graduate degrees, people with graduate degrees in wave energy. 10, I think you mentioned.
Well, that's exciting. Actually, the University of Uppsala, in Uppsala, Sweden, has 10 graduate students that are specializing in wave energy only. Now, the utilities are going out aggressively with ads to the public, to these students, saying, in fact, one of them had a rather creative one, you want to be wet and wild, come work for our company, and we're doing wave energy. And here is Vattenfall, which is one of those, which is to reach a fast breakthrough. They believe that ocean energy will be the next renewable technology to be commercialized within 10 to 15 years. They're off the starting block. They want to go ahead and get those students, those graduate students, as part of their team So within the 10 to 15 years, they're a leader in the commercialization of wave energy.
So why don't we just send them some graduate students, Cynthia?
We don't even have courses at our university that address this. And I think that might be changing. I'm going to meet with people up at the university to discuss that. And I believe there is a really good effort going from a few people. But again, it's the broader support that's needed. We should have a graduate program for wave energy. We should have the test tank in Hawaii. We should have the renewable energy zones offshore, and with the systems set up where the wave energy companies could come and say, okay, we want to lease that underwater plug and test our system. We will pay you, Hawaii. You've put in the plug, we'll pay you. It won't be money out of pocket. You'll be able to make your money back on that installation, and we want to test our systems here. That's where we should be going.
You know, I was also in Europe this summer, and although I didn't get to a conference like you did, I noticed that people were committed to energy, including wave energy, including PV, including all kinds of those threads of renewable energy all over Europe. And I say, this is kind of interesting that they're so focused. You know, you are one of the people that I know who's completely focused on energy. You are committed to it, you know, you are associated with it, you work on it every day. And there are people in Europe who feel the same way, focused. Even though there are different countries, different government mechanisms that might not agree on other things, but this is something they agree on. They can get it done. You have to fly to Uppsala in order to hear the you know, the most avant-garde thinking on it. Why don't we have that in the U.S.? Why don't we have that in Hawaii? We're missing something, don't you think?
Absolutely, we're missing something. Unfortunately, the federal government hasn't really taken a look at this and the technology and the job creation. My goodness, the economic boost that would come if we were going out to tap what will ultimately be able to provide 10% of the globe's electrical needs. And so we don't have the federal government support, which were we to have that, that would filter on down to Hawaii. And then Hawaii itself, there are economic ways that we can entice businesses to come here. And I think you can talk about some of those, Jay, that would bring these high-tech companies here and help them be able to go ahead, help them with their funding for the project.
You know, people don't realize that a high-tech company and entrepreneurial activity always requires one thing: investment. Mm-hmm. That makes the world go round as far as startups are concerned. You can't do it without that. And once you have that, you attract the talent, you attract the management, you attract those graduate degrees. We had Act 221. It's not quite the same anymore. It's not going to be much this year, and this is the last year that it will exist. So the question, you know, is what are we going to do to fill the vacuum? That act was encouraging to the software industry in Hawaii in the early part of the century. The software industry never really got off the ground as a come-to industry here. And then we moved on to biotech, and that act was of some interest in biotech. Unfortunately, you need an iconic location like Kaka'ako for biotech, and that never got off the ground. We got, you know, diverted on that. And then, you know, as part of the governor's innovation economy, there grew energy. Energy is the third great, you know, tech initiative in this decade, and we have to make this one work. Mm-hmm. So we need capital for it. We need to excite kids about it, and young managers and young PhDs about it, and develop the technology not only for ourselves, you know, to be self-sustaining energy-wise, but also to export the intellectual property, to export the ideas, even to export things that are fuel. And so this is our big opportunity. But we need the capital. We need some kind of mechanism. It's the puka, it's the vacuum in our program right now, and we have to fill it.